It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of December 12, 2003. We've got 5 movies to look at today, so a lot of films to get to. Let's not waste any more time and get right to it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton in Nancy Meyers' latest film, Something's Gotta Give.
You don't understand. I'm dating your daughter.
You're dating my daughter?
Now, who would have thought that would be worse news?
Columbia Pictures presents Jack Nicholson, Diane Keaton, Keanu Reeves, Frances McDormand, Amanda Peet in a comedy about life. And how it can surprise you. Something's gotta give.
I've never seen a woman that age naked before. You're kidding. We're not all doctors, baby.
Rated PG-13.
And I will say this, for those audiences out there who've been waiting to see a 63-year-old Jack Nicholson, a 56-year-old Diane Keaton, and Amanda Peet near buck naked, here's your movie right here. In fact, Diane Keaton actually does get naked in this PG-13 movie, which I was actually kind of surprised by. I was just like, wow, they actually let that through. I don't know, maybe because she wasn't doing anything sexual or anything, but it's just normal life, or I don't know, but I was surprised when I saw that. I was just like, whoa, where the hell did that come from? But, hey, it's a Nancy Meyers movie, and she usually makes a lot of very good films, and, this one is definitely that. You have Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton, who are professionals who find love for each other in later life, despite being complete opposites. You know, Jack Nicholson's dating Amanda Peet, which I find it kind of funny because Amanda Peet also was dating an older man in Bruce Willis in the sequel, The Whole 10 Yards, which came out shortly after this. She wasn't dating him in the first movie, but they became a couple in the second film. And Diane Keaton seeing Keanu Reeves, Neo from The Matrix, and I think this movie kind of gives you an idea that Keanu Reeves isn't just a plain mediocre actor in general. Like, he has range, and to be with those talents, I mean, Jack Nicholson, Diane Keaton, there's also Frances McDormand, Jon Favreau is in this movie as well. That's a pretty tall feat to accomplish, and the film does very well with it. And you know, the film just works. It's a mainstream movie with two titans of actors working together here, and they're supposed to play people who have an affinity for younger people, and yet they find this chemistry that just works so well. And it's like I said, the writing of Nancy Meyers. I mean, this is the person that made the Father of the Bride movies look as good as they did. I mean, she did The Holiday. She did what was the one she did recently? Can't remember it. Complicated. That's the one I'm thinking of. It's Complicated, which does not have her in it. It's Meryl Streep in that one. And even The Intern with Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway is surprisingly really good. She did also What Women Want and The Parent Trap. I mean, she's a really damn good director in general, and this is just another film that really shows what she's capable of doing as a filmmaker, and she just makes it work. The acting is great. The comedy is very funny. The writing overall is very good. It's a really good crowd-pleasing movie. It's a film that was a massive success for good reason. It shows that these are two titans of actors who can work off each other really well, and it's just a great film. It's a fun film, a really good time overall. I can't really say too much more about it that hasn't already been said. It's a really damn good movie, and one that I do indeed recommend checking out. So that's Something's Gotta Give. Let's move on to the next movie. The Farrelly Brothers with a new film. Probably one of their most underrated movies in my opinion. Greg Kinnear, Matt Damon, and Cher in Stuck on You.
Academy Award winner Matt Damon. Academy Award nominee Greg Kinnear. Academy Award winner Cher. 4-time Academy Award watchers, the Farrelly Brothers, bring you a story of two brothers who are one of a kind.
I'm gonna have to level with you. Siamese twins ain't the easiest sell I've ever had.
We're not Siamese. We're American.
Stuck on You.
So, when'd you get this done?
No, we were born this way.
Cool.
That's actually a different trailer than what I saw back in the day. In fact, the first time I ever saw the trailer for that particular trailer, I really did think that it was a legitimately a serious drama, but no. As soon as they say 4-time Academy Award watchers, the Farrelly Brothers, it wasn't even that. It's when they said Academy Award nominee Cher. That was just like, okay, that's when I knew this was a comedy, even though She actually did win an Oscar for Moonstruck, and I hadn't seen Moonstruck at that point, but now I've seen it. It's a great film, and I see why she won the Oscar. But this is Stuck on You, where you have Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear as conjoined twin brothers whose conflicting aspirations provide both conflict and humorous situations. In particular, when one of them wishes to move from Hollywood to pursue a career as an actor. And chaos and hilarity ensues, with Eva Mendes and Seymour Cassel among the peak cast in here. And, for the Farrelly brothers, this is actually one of their more tamer movies by comparison, and maybe that's why the film didn't do so well at the box office. It was actually seen as kind of an underperformer, even though it did make its budget back at $55 million, with a $65 million worldwide gross. It was a film that was not particularly well received in general compared to some of their other movies, and quite frankly, I don't understand why, because it was a movie that actually was legitimately a good film. Maybe it's because I think people expected more gross-out humor from the Farrelly brothers, but made a couple movies that were much more tamer, and there's nothing wrong with being tamer as long as the movies are good. I mean, they did this, and then they followed up with Fever Pitch, which I think is a criminally underrated Farrelly brothers movie. Probably the one good movie Jimmy Fallon ever did as an actor, which isn't really a whole lot, but he gets kind of a bad rap for The Tonight Show, and let's just say that as of the time of recording this, I'm preparing a little documentary for the 70th anniversary of The Tonight Show, and I wanted to watch the Jimmy Fallon one to get ready for that. But needless to say, there's going to be a lot to talk about, and I might even do it this week on the Reviewing Network Live. But let's just say that the days when Jimmy Fallon was actually funny are kind of past it at this point. But we're not here to talk about Jimmy Fallon, at least not yet. We'll get to his movies starting with Taxi next year, but we're here to talk about this movie here. And you know what? Like I said, it's a fun movie. I like these two. I like Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear working off each other. I like that they're Siamese twins. Like the thing that's literally holding them together. Like, it looks kind of fake, but at the same time, it kind of looks authentic at the same time. It's funny. Like, it's a funny movie. A film that is so cleverly written. Like, I like how Cher's able to make fun of herself in this. Like, there's the whole thing where she's dating Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle, which is kind of amusing in its own ways, and probably is the darkest joke that this movie probably goes into. But I will admit the ending does go a little bit too long. In fact, I will say this. The last maybe 20, 30 minutes does go over a little bit too much. It does overstay its welcome, and I won't say it's a great film, but it's definitely a film that I think deserves a lot more credit than it actually gets. It's a film that's actually very funny. The last 30 minutes, though, I will say, do kind of slow it down a little bit, but never to the point where I feel like I have to say it's a bad movie. I still think this is a really good film overall. I do recommend checking it out. It's definitely one of the Farrelly brothers' most underrated movies, in my personal opinion. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Love Don't Cost a Thing.
As a dream, she's like a frappuccino. Oh! No.
$3,000?
Not necessarily.
He's found a way
You can fix it?
to make it come true.
And what exactly do you want in return?
Pretend to be my girlfriend. It'll make me popular.
Nick Cannon, Christina Leon, and Steve Harvey.
Dang, look at you.
Love Don't Cost a Thing. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, December 12th.
It's amazing that Jennifer Lopez isn't involved in this. They must have paid a lot of money to actually use the title of that, since that's based off of her song. And this is also written by the same guy and directed by the same guy that wrote Baps, which, yeah, that's not a good sign whatsoever. And you have a movie here that's essentially a remake of Can't Buy Me Love from 1987 that starred Patrick Dempsey. And in it, Nick Cannon plays a nerdy kid who's skilled in designing car engines. And when he's got this crush on Christina Milian from Taina, if you remember that show from Nickelodeon, and her car crashes, and he's willing to fix the car on the condition that he pretends to be his girlfriend. And so basically the whole movie he's just simping for this girl. But I think really the overall feeling of this movie is, why would you want to remake Can't Buy Me Love? I mean, not to say that it's a bad movie by any means necessary, but Can't Buy Me Love did not have the lasting legacy that I think this director thinks it really did, because, it's an 80s teen movie that is, simple premise. Patrick Dempsey kind of wants to do the same thing, wants to get the girl of his dreams, but he's a nerd, and so he basically says, "I'll pay you money to be my girlfriend." Except that in this case, it's basically Christina Milian being just simply asked to by Nick Cannon to do it because, you know, of her issue with the car. And I'm sorry, I can't buy Nick Cannon as a nerd more than I can buy Patrick Dempsey as a nerd. Patrick Dempsey's a nerd and Can't Buy Me Love I could buy, but here, he's just trying way too hard, especially since a year before this, he was in Drumline and looking more confident than he does in this. Like, this was getting to a point where it was just like, okay, you're past the point where you can make this work on, as you're trying to make this work as it does. But, I mean, you also got Steve Harvey in here, who's fine, I guess. I mean, Kenan Thompson's in here, Cal Penn, Regan Gomez-Preston from The Cleveland Show, Nicole Scherzinger, pre-Pussycat Dolls, Dante Bosco is in here as a spoken word artist. But other than that, though, this is, I guess I could say it's not as bad as Baps, but it doesn't make it a good movie either. It just makes it kind of a mediocre film at best. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing, and you can't really buy into the chemistry either. And just like I said, the whole purpose of the film is supposed to be, you know, like, it's supposed to be, like, signify that Can't Buy Me Love left such a lasting impact on people that this movie had to be remade for a new generation. And no, it just simply was not. But it's here, and yeah, I've got nothing really good to say about it other than what I just said. So how about we get to some good movies? Let's go ahead and move on back to the good stuff. Let's go to Tim Burton's Big Fish.
Telling the story of my father's life, it's impossible to separate fact from the fiction, the man from the myth. The best I can do is to tell it the way he told me.
If there was one thing you can say about it, boo-boo,
Or that I was intended for larger things. I was the biggest thing Ashton had ever seen.
From the imagination of director Tim Burton.
most men, they'll tell you a story straight through. It won't be complicated, but it won't be interesting either.
Did you ever think that maybe you're not too big, but maybe this town is just too small?
They say when you meet the love of your life, time stops. And that's true. Your mother was never supposed to marry me. She was engaged to somebody else.
Forget it, kid. Don't waste your time. She's out of your league.
You don't even know me.
Sure I do. You were hot stuff back in Hitville. But here in the real world, you got squat.
Now, I may not have much, but I have more determination than any man you're ever likely to meet.
Sandra Templeton, I love you and I will marry you.
I was drying out.
Dad, I have no idea who you are.
What do you want, Will? Who do you want me to be?
Just yourself. Just show me who you are for once.
Discover an adventure as big as life itself.
In telling the story of my father's life,
Bravo Company, go!
doesn't always make sense. But that's what kind of story this is.
I mean, you gotta play that music from Edward Scissorhands, and I'm just putty in your hands. I mean, that's a great trailer, too, that just gives you an idea, an indication of what this movie is and why it works so well, because this is an amazing movie, man. I love this movie so much. You have the story of a frustrated son who tries to distinguish fact from fiction in the life of his father, a teller of tall tales. You have Ewan McGregor playing the younger version of William Bloom, and Albert Finney's the older version. Billy Crudup is the son. Jessica Lange is William's wife. Helena Bonham Carter is also in here. Alison Lohman is the younger version of Jessica Lange's character. You have Robert Guillaume, Marion Cotillard, Steve Buscemi, Danny DeVito in a role that he would play again basically 16 years later in Dumbo. I mean, it's literally the same role in Dumbo pretty much, but in here, it's just a great film in general. You have the theme of reconciliation, and it became part of the reason why Tim Burton actually decided to do it, because it had special significance for him, because his father died in 2000, and then he lost his mother 2 years later before he signed on to direct the film. And you could just see the passion that he has in this movie. This is just a beautifully put together film from a visual perspective, from a storytelling perspective, with just a terrific cast led by Ewan McGregor. If you didn't think Obi-Wan Kenobi could act before this movie came out, this movie proved that he can do that and then some, because he is incredible in this film. Like I said, the visual aspect of the movie is amazing. This is probably one of Tim Burton's best films. I mean, this is a film that is just so well put together, so enticing, so engaging. A terrific score once again by Danny Elfman. Just a brilliant, brilliant movie, man. This is a classic film on a number of levels. Really, a film that I don't think gets the proper respect that it deserves. I mean, yeah, Tim Burton's gotten a bad rap over the years, but man, I can't recommend this movie enough. Terrific film, amazing film. Friggin' Big Fish, man. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out on a terrific, terrific film. Speaking of terrific films, let's go ahead and wrap up this show by taking a look at the last film we have here, and that is Scarlett Johansson in The Girl with a Pearl Earring, also with Colin Firth.
Now lick your lips. Tell me how you get on up there. Do you move him? Do you inspire him?
Lionsgate Films presents Colin Firth, Scarlett Johansson, Tom Wilkinson in the mystery behind the masterpiece. Girl with a Pearl Earring.
Based off of the novel of the same name, you have Scarlett Johansson starring as Griet, a young 17th century servant in the house of this Dutch painter played by Colin Firth. At the time he painted The Girl with a Pearl Earring in the city of Delft in Holland. This also has Tom Wilkinson, Cillian Murphy, Essie Davis, and Judy Parfitt. And in a year where Scarlett Johansson just really was taken off with Lost in Translation, here's another film that doesn't get really the proper attention that I think it does, because Lost in Translation came out, and that is a much better film. But man, this is another film that shows that Scarlett Johansson has a future going for her. Kind of like with Ewan McGregor in Big Fish, but here, like, she looks like the person in the painting, and it's just incredible how much of a similarity there is between her and the woman in the painting. It's a really engaging film. It's a film that does go against the norms of a typical period film, and actually does something very different and very unique with it to make it stand out on its own. It's a film that is visually gorgeous to look at, features a top-notch cast of really talented people, some great music by Alexander Desplat, some great cinematography. What more do I have to say, man? It's a great film. Definitely a film that's very much underrated in general. It's a film that I do recommend checking out, especially for Scarlett Johansson's performance. It's just another great film. A good one to wrap the show up with. Girl with a Pearl Earring. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll head into the week before Christmas with easily the biggest new release of the weekend, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, the end of Peter Jackson's legendary trilogy. We also have Julia Roberts in the ensemble film Mona Lisa Smile, Helen Mirren in Calendar Girls, and also House of Sand and Fog. So 4 films to look at next time around. We'll delve into those in the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. And don't go too far away, because Time About the Movies Flashback returns after a week away with 6 movies to look at, including Roman Polanski's Frantic with Harrison Ford, the comedy A Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon, the musical version of Hairspray directed by John Waters, not the musical version, but the original Hairspray, Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport, Aloha Summer, and Pierce Brosnan in Taffin. So we'll take a look at those 6 movies on the next episode on Time About the Movies Flashback, which will be coming up in just a little bit, right after this.